The next day, George went with me to the station where I took a ticket for Dresden. "Going to see the pictures?" asked George with a grin. George is such a gossip that had I told him about my trip to Ruritania, the news would have been in London in 3 days and in Park Lane in a week. I was about to answer when, leaving me suddenly, he darted across the platform. Following him with my eyes, I saw him lift his hat to a graceful, fashionably dressed woman who had just appeared from the booking office. She was perhaps a year or two over 30, tall, dark, and of rather full figure. As George talked, I saw her glance at me. A moment later, George returned. "You have a charming travelling companion," he said. "That's Antoinette de Mauban, and like you, she's going to Dresden. It is queer, though, that she doesn't deserve the honor of your acquaintance." "I didn't ask to be introduced," I replied, a little annoyed. When, after a night's rest in Dresden, I continued my journey, I observed that the lady got into the same train. Understanding that she wanted to be let alone, I avoided her, but saw that she went the same way as I did to the very end of my journey. As soon as I reached the Ruritanian border, I bought a newspaper and found in it news that made me change my travel plans. For some reason, the date of the king's coronation had been suddenly advanced, and the ceremony was to take place 2 days later. Strelsau, I knew, was thronged with visitors who had come to watch the coronation ceremony. Rooms were all let, and hotels overflowing. There would be very little chance of my obtaining any sort of lodging, and I certainly would have to pay an exorbitant charge for it. I made up my mind to stop at Zenda, a small town 50 miles short of the capital and about 10 from the border. My train reached there in the evening. I decided to spend the next day, Tuesday, wandering over the hills that were said to be very fine and taking a look at the famous castle. I would go over by train to Strelsau on Wednesday morning, returning at night to sleep at Zenda. Accordingly, I got out at Zenda, and as the train passed where I stood on the platform, I saw Madame Mauban in her place. Clearly, she was going through to Strelsau.